You have to enable share screen for me. You still there, I hope?
Yeah. And how do I do that? Right here. Make co-host, would that be enough for you to share the screen? I don't want to make you.
Yeah, make co-host, try that. Oh, looks like it's good. Desktop 1, here we go. Okay.
Perfect.
There we are. Question and answer hasn't started yet. 9 minutes to go. You are screen sharing, Paul. There's the thing up there. Hopefully I won't mess that up. Oh. Yep. Forgot everything. Okay. This is where it becomes really hard to focus on so many things. That's why I try not to have use my notes in the bottom, because I can't look up and down. So I'll just try to remember what I was going to do. So let me check a few things. Actually, I'll stop share. Yeah, slide 18. If I finish talking by 2:45, for questions about the Learn sites, I can do 4 examples. 2:55, only 3. I'm going to show. Okay, let me just think this up.
Do you have a bit.ly for your presentation? The one that you're sharing on the screen, or you were sharing before?
Yeah, it's on the first page. It's Learn Resources Aquis. I'll send it to you. It's
because I have online social sciences IDs, that presentation.
Okay, there, it's that one. Copy it with your right click or something. It's on the first slide of the slide of the presentation.
The bit.ly social sciences?
No, on the very first slide of the presentation, it says bit.ly Learn Resources Aquis, but Aquis has a capital A. I'll send it in the chat.
Can't have that anywhere.
There it is. Send it to the chat. Not sure where you got the other one. I must have given it to you before, or made a link before somewhere. Where does that go? Does it go to the same thing?
Yeah, the one I put in the chat. Yeah, see that one? It doesn't go to the same.
Oh, no, that's the one where they're going to work on it. Yes. That is the one where they're going to share me their ideas. I mean, on the front of the PowerPoint, the Google slide that I'm presenting, and the first page is that. I wasn't even going to show that to them, to tell you the truth.
Okay, I'll just keep it in the background.
Well, I will. I'll mention it. I don't have a corporate blurb for Learn, so I prepared. So I'm going to fake it, I guess. $2:24, 6 minutes. I should probably go to the bathroom or something. Does it start? Is it already open? Can people come in?
As far as I know, it's live.
I don't see it. See you soon, it says. Stop video, start a video. Okay, I'm just going to go to the bathroom.
Okay, I'll test a question.
Oh, you're doing a question on the testing a question, first question. That was you?
Yeah.
Well,
where did that pop up for you?
On the website. I can see it on there as a user, right? Okay.
And where would I see it? On the website as well?
I don't know. You have to be logged in as a regular user, which you probably aren't. So. Hello. I have a second host.
Hi there. My name's Ashley Manuel. I'm from the Association for Canadian Studies. We're just doing a quick pop into every session to make sure you guys are okay, that you didn't need anything. Oh, you're already live streaming.
Just the question. I don't see me streaming yet.
I see on the top left.
Yeah, I had it live. Were we supposed to wait? I thought at quarter after I was supposed to make it live.
Oh, that's okay. It's all good. It's just everyone can see us.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure they see that my screen then.
Do you guys have any questions for me? I guess not, since you're already online and ready to go.
I think we're okay, but as far as the questions go, though, the live Q&A, I have a tab open where I just submitted a question.
Okay.
But then I didn't see it. Paul saw it pop up. Do I have to log in as a participant?
Are you the host? Yes,
I'm the
you are.
host.
Can you actually rename yourself, please? Sorry, in the bottom.
Yeah, let me see my thumbnail. Come on, rename. So that I'll stick my name and host.
Sure, if you want to indicate host, that's not a problem.
How's that?
All good. So for the Q&A, you can't see the questions that have been submitted so far?
Right, I just put in a test one. Paul could see it, but I couldn't. But I'm in, what interface am I in?
You should be on the virtual attendee hub.
Okay, so I think I have to open that tab. It's in my participant sign up. I have a link.
Anyway, I can see the question. No. Worst comes to worst, we can start anytime. 3 minutes. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom.
And I think I'm there. I have to scroll down to the session.
Yeah,
No,
click on this session.
all sessions.
And then all sessions, and then the
Down
learning
to
session.
230. This gamma. Learn resources. Yeah, I'm in.
And then live Q&A.
Yeah, do I have to do join session?
No, you don't need to join. You're already
Live Q&A.
the live Q&A, and then you'll see pending questions, approved questions, declined. And I see the 2 tests in the approved questions.
Okay, can I just leave them there? They're just tests. I'm not going to approve them.
Well, they've already been approved, but if you want to show the question to everybody else, you click on display. So you don't need to show these tests.
Okay, I'm going to decline one. I already approved the other one.
No problem.
Okay, and then
All
where do I see the questions once they're approved? That's what I'm not seeing.
You haven't approved any yet. You actually deleted the 2 that the 2 tests.
Okay.
So right now there's no questions, but as soon as all of the lovely people that are currently listening to us post some questions after your presentation, it will pop up.
Okay, and I just did an approved, and so now I see it.
Perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And then when you click display, everyone else will be able to see that. All right?
Okay. We're gonna get started in 30 seconds.
And my phone number is there in case you have any questions during the session.
Is there in the chat?
Yes, it's in the chat.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
No problem. Have fun. Bye.
Okay. So I guess you should shut your yeah, there you go.
Got it.
So we are live in 30 seconds. I'm sure there are people watching. That's okay. There is a link if you want to follow the PowerPoint. And I'm going to start with start with the Learn introduction, who we are, but then I'm going to get into technical right away anyway. So here we go. 2:30. So right on time. I know there might be people wandering in because you had to travel a long distance between the sessions, but I'm going to start right away. And I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Paul Rombo, and this is Learn Resources and Collaborating Throughout an Online Learning Process. Okay, as you noticed at the bottom, there is a link, Learn Resources Acquiesce, to get to the PowerPoint, but I also uploaded it into the site, the CVent site, as a PDF that you can access it. So I'm just going to start by introducing three people. That's me on the left. I'm the social sciences consultant at Learn. Learn is a network of organizations in Quebec. We're mandated to support the Quebec Anglophone schools and First Nations, as well as our partners. And we support the programs in Quebec. I'm the social sciences consultant, and I'm a former teacher and a former online teacher for Learn at one point, which I'll talk about in a second. I have Matt Russell down here. He's not actually going to be here, but he is instrumental in a lot of the stuff I do. He helps me prepare document collections, which I'll be showing you. And he's also helping me work on a new history site for secondary students. So I'm putting him down there so that you get his contact information. My co-host is Craig Bullitt, at Education and Technology Consultant at Learn, our RECI contact, the réseau for education and communication and information technologies. I'll mention that a little bit later. And Craig will be staffing the questions. Okay, this is a slide that I borrowed from somebody to put at the beginning, but none of this works for you. But I thought I'd leave it up anyway, because I thought it was an interesting slide. It's useful to start whenever you do a session online, it's especially with people you're not familiar with, it's useful to set the scene. But it reminded me also of a story. One of the greatest ideas I found was a teacher who, okay, someone's cutting their grass. Can you believe it? I hope they cut that part out. A teacher who never taught an app. She used tons of apps in class. Zoom is an app, but she never taught it. What she would do is she'd isolate each function on it and get the students to learn one and teach it to the class. And I'm telling you, when you're online, there are a multitude of functions, including some that you don't see on this slide in the annotation. And I urge you to use every single one you can as quickly as possible, because you'll go a lot farther with your students. So my main goal in this is not just to share information with you, but it's also to get your ideas. So we're going to start with an activity where I'll get to see how many of you there are. But I also want to get your ideas throughout this workshop, and I want you to collect them. But we're going to start with one. Okay, imagine you're introducing a new topic. You are teaching, or you've seen people teaching, and you have to introduce a topic that the students have never seen before. I'm talking secondary students or elementary students, not a university environment. You have to engage them. I want you to ask yourself, you've got the topic in your head, it's brand new to them. How might you engage the students? How might you start a lesson or start a topic in a way that would capture their attention, get them involved, get them asking questions? I want you to picture that idea in your head, because now I'm going to ask you, would that work online? I want you to rate it. I want you to rank it. I want you to go to this page. The address is at the bottom. And I want you to say, how well would that idea I just had in my mind work online? So now I'm going to see if there's anybody out there. So this is actually a Google drawing. And in order to rank, you need to move these binômes on the right somewhere from the left to the right. Now, left would be the idea I had was really better in a classroom. It would really only work in a classroom. And then the idea on the right is, oh, I already teach online. I know it works online. It works. Me, I have an idea in my head, and I'm pretty sure I can get it to work. I'm going to maybe have time to talk about it, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to play out. So this idea is leaning towards, it might, and I'm pretty sure I can make it work, but I haven't figured it out yet. And what I want you to do too is make very small letters of a text box like this and write your name and where you're from without moving everybody else around. So I live in Montreal. Or you can say at Learn in Montreal area or something like that. Now, this is the technology part. And it's also a collaborative part. We're working together on a slide, and there's a little delay, which is not realistic in a classroom environment. So I'm going to wait a few seconds to see if a few people show up. Oh, I see somebody. At least one person is here. Now, again, a technical thing. If you're looking at this on the small screen, you need to get it full screen, but not now because you need another window. So this is the address up at the top. You need to write it in exactly as it is, bit.ly engage ranking. Hey, somebody I know, see? And now we're socializing slowly but surely. So you need to be able to see this window. You're not going to be watching me, but you can hear me. And you're seeing what I'm seeing because I'm looking at the same slide. So this is an environment where I like to work. It's collaborative, it's easy, and I can set the link so that anybody can edit it, and I get some information quickly. So far I don't think I have any online teachers because nobody's put one in, or maybe they're working on an idea like me that they haven't really thought of. So I'm gonna leave that and go back to the presentation because time is of the essence, and you guys are apparently 50 seconds or more behind me. So just continue to rank that event or that engage idea. Now I'm going to ask you to write down that idea at some point, or maybe another idea, because another idea might come to mind. So I'm going to go back in full screen here. And technical thing, there's two full screens on this interface. There's one up there, but makes it bigger, but that's not what we want. We want the one down on the bottom that goes full screen if you're done with that ranking activity, because I'm going to have some small text, not this one, but I want to introduce where this project I'm working on came from. I used to teach online. I just wrote a blog entry called Beginners No More Social Sciences Online in the Digital Age, because I had previously in 2011 taught online and wrote another one called Beginner's Mind, a first time online teaching experience. And basically what I was writing about was how what we still need is lots of content. That's one of the two things we need. When you're teaching history online, you have to have something to show them all the time. And you know that there are online textbooks, but it's not quite the same. That often there's one or two examples. You need lots of stuff. And I burn out halfway through the year, and I relied on the textbooks. I sent them one because I couldn't keep up. But I still try to do online and online content, and I've been producing ever since those things, those online content and digital tools. We also need the skills. We needed to, in my classroom, we practiced and we tried everything all the time, but we needed to practice certain things, and we stuck to certain technologies. In Quebec now, there's something called the Digital Competency Framework. Craig, actually, the co-host, wrote a blog entry on the Learn blog. The address is down at the bottom and also in the PowerPoint, where he talks about the Digital Competency Framework. It's basically one competency that has several dimensions, and some are of personal interest to me, like the collaboration one. But the main point is that students are aware throughout the process that they are exercising a digital competency, not at the end, throughout. And they're aware of these terms and these ideas, and they think about what they're doing, and they develop those skills and are aware of those skills. The other thing I wrote about was that we need to prepare for classes at every step of the learning process. What do I mean by that? I mean, I see a lot of presentations online about how to teach online, and they show me a tool that works great, and they show me an activity. But when you're actually teaching online, and I'm talking long-term teaching online, you know, not just going in for a week while it's off and then coming back, you know, you have to start working your classes like a normal teacher, and you have to have something to do at every phase in the process, not just at the beginning, middle, end, evaluation. So, and also the other thing was that you have to have the students collaborating often. This is their only way to connect to people. And I taught a class that had no other way. In fact, I never even met the students in person. I never went to visit them through the whole year. It's important that when they're working together, often they're collaborating, at least in my view. So I came up with this sort of generic process. It's based on an old dot plan tool that Learn produced. And it's a pretty much of a generic beginning to middle to end process. I could have followed the more historical method process, and I mention that often, and it's the same sort of pattern. You begin the class by engaging students, then they get to explore and ask questions. At some point, you're investigating further, which implies research, gathering information, processing information, organizing it, and then at some point you're creating a project or an idea, a representation of an interpretation where the students have gone a little bit further. And then how do you share it? How do you get the results back to the teacher? How do they share with each other? So these are the five steps, 5 phases that I sort of isolated. And for me, it makes it easy. They're not hard. Sometimes it blends between one and the other. So this is the overview of the session. We've done a couple already. We did an engage activity. It's a kind of engage activity, which is active. Then you saw about the article. I suggest you read it. There's a couple other links in there and a couple other ideas. Then I'm going to show you a format for taking notes. And we're going to show them a little bit about the Learn resources that are available. It's going to go quick, so I'm going to give you one address to remember, which is learnquebec.ca/social sciences, but I'll overview it. But the main part of the workshop or session is online learning strategy examples. I'm going to give you examples, and then after that example, you're going to think of your own idea and write it down, because we're going to share it at the end. That's the idea. We're going to break out. Oh, there's no breakout rooms here, but I got that covered. We're going to do that in Google again. And we're going to share back ideas. And if we have time, I'm going to talk a little bit about the sharing phase and a way that things can be shared for evaluation or for just sharing between students. So it looks like this. Just take a blank piece of paper and write a line down the middle. And you're going to put the phase on the left and your idea is on the right. So you already have an idea. You can write it down. You can use a digital tool if you want. That's okay. But keep track of your ideas, because I'm going to show you mine. Okay, but before I do, these ideas mostly have examples from our new history site that's being built for secondary 3 and 4 students. It's just begun. We've worked on sections of the first time period in Quebec, 1840 to 1896. And a lot of the examples I use are how to use this material online, and the material's there. So you'll see some examples, but not all the examples. Sometimes I'll use other Learn resources, and I'm okay with using resources that aren't from Learn too. This is an example of the student site, a section of the student site. It's a topic or a grouping of learning intentions. What the students will be able to do on the left is a list of the knowledges that's prescribed by the Quebec program, and they're grouped together in this page. And the page basically has overview texts. It has some more specific text. It has videos, images, and you can see these sort of, oh, you can see my mouse. Every once in a while, they're sort of broken up with an activity idea and some documents that students can use. So a lot of examples are from that, but not all. There's that one address. Here, I'll use my mouse. You can see that apparently. Oops. Okay, one address is learnquebec.ca/social sciences. And most of this, well, all of what I'm showing you is available via that address. If you went into the history section, Learn Quebec/history, you could find access to the original document collections and learning and evaluation situations and evaluation tools that Learn has either created or curated or translated. And then you'll have the secondary history site as well. 3 other sites I want to mention. At the bottom middle, here is one called societies.learnquebec.ca, is an elementary resource site for the elementary program. It follows the societies that are portrayed in the elementary program. And I'm going to be working on an elementary version of this process site this week. So hopefully that'll be up. But I do have a couple of elementary examples. On the bottom middle is the RECI, which is our Récit en univers social. It's our French equivalent, if you will. They provide resources for the Francophone sector, and we often translate those resources. So when you see translated from RC, it means there's a French version of it. In fact, societies.learnquebec.ca, the elementary site, is an English version of a French original site. Same with Cartograph. Cartograph is a mapping application that was developed by the Receipt and Learn and Parks Canada and a couple other organizations, and it's available in French and English, and there are mapping scenarios on it, and I will refer to that as a tool as well. So now I am going to show you the site and some examples, but I'm also going to see if I have any questions. Oh, well, I don't see any questions over there. I'm going to check the time too, because time is of the essence. 2:45, I can do 4 examples maybe, because we want to get sharing by 3:20. So I'll try to get 4 in, maybe 3. Okay, here's an example. When you're on that site and you click the Engage tab, hold on. Okay, yeah, Social Sciences Online Learning. The address is at the top left. It's available from /social sciences as well, or from this PowerPoint. So when you click on Engage, you get a slide, a series of slide documents. It's a template I use just to summarize the activity. In this case, it's in the Engage section, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it. But because it's the first one, I'll explain the structure. Basically, top left is sort of what the tech skill is, or the description of the activity in general, whereas the war experiences, the green is the topic within the program or the subject we're covering. And then it's got a place to sort of say where it would occur. And in this case, it's got guiding questions. Well, I try to put guiding questions in all of them because usually this is part of a larger process, which had a question that the students are considering. It might even be a process that lasts 2 or 3 days, or even 2 or 3 topics. Then it has an activity description. So this engaging activity online asks students to look deeply at a picture that they choose, examining titles, text, zooming in when necessary, shapes, etc. Then they're going to use an organizer, which I'll show you, where they collaboratively note down their impressions, their questions. They are starting to explore, but I'm using this as an engaging activity. Any historical events that come to mind that they recognize. So there's a description of your activity and what materials you have. In this case, there's a document collection on Learn, and this actual tool, Google tool. And at the bottom is the sort of the name of the technology. On the left is our program in Quebec history. I write a few comments about what's covered in the program. So, I'm going to go back for one. Sorry about that. I'm trying to build videos for these, so you can see what it looks like when you teach online, what it might look like, so you can visualize it if you've never used it before. But I'm also adding program elements to each video, different program elements, or I'm adding context for where the documents are, how to get them at the beginning of the video. So the first few videos are fairly long. I'm not going to show you the video. I might show you a little bit of one video, but I will tell you what's in them. So at the 1 minute mark, it talks about where on Learn. If you go to secondary history, you can get these document collections. It explains the document collection structure, being having a title, it has activities. The documents are organized around what's called learning intentions. I mentioned that before. These are knowledge to be acquired in the Quebec program. And then there's lots of documents. This one actually has about 40 pages of documents, and I call them document pages, but inside the pages, you can see there's lots of other documents, and those documents can be used for things. So in this case, at the beginning, one of the activities, you can kind of see it poking its head out through there, is the activity for engaging students by showing them images. So this is where at the two minute mark, not bad for this video, this is where I talk about the tool. So it shows students images online, and they get to decide which image they want, what are curious about, what captures their eye. And there's titles too, so the titles are significant. Then they open the tool, they use the tool, and I'm going to show you that tool in a second. And the end of the video ends with that comment I made about recognizing which dimension of the digital competency they were working on as they go. And in the end, what things came up. We harnessed digital resources. We developed information literacy, because there's a lot of questioning when the photo was taken. Why is that one colored? And certainly collaborating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little guy here. And this is what I hate about, it's going to pop me out of full screen. So I'm just going to pop myself out and go to the tool, or the template. And then I'm not going to click on the document collection. You can access that yourself. I want to show you the actual tool. So it's a Google folder. And in Google folders, you can make them accessible to the world. You can view them as grid. And the students would come here and they would pick one. So in your head, you're picking one, and maybe you've actually been here already because you've seen the PowerPoint, and you might be in the one I'm in, because if I click this, let's see, I'm going to see Gallipoli after the film. I remember the film and I want to see the picture. I get the tool. So the thing about these tools is that that a lot of people don't know about slides and drawings, is you can custom size them. So including slides, and you can make them huge. And when they're huge, students can then zoom in and see details and examine the image. And then, since it's a tool that I can write in, I give them an option, or I give them some ideas as to how to start. Look deeply at the picture, look at shapes, colors, textures, and so on. And the tool extends down and gets a little bit more into the exploration further phase, but I'm just showing this to show you that this could be a way to start a class online. So that is the tool. These are the collections of tools, and that was the idea. Whoa, excellent, there are people here. That's super. So now you've seen me show you a tool to examine an image to start a class to get people active. And you had an idea already. Now you might have a different idea. I want you to take your paper and write it down. I'm going to give you 30 seconds while I check and see if there's any questions. And I'm going to check. So write it down. You've got an idea. How would you start a class online? Maybe it's something you've heard about before. Somebody else did. You're teaching a class and it's partly digital. It might be completely digital, and you're going to write it down. Okay. Number 2, explore. I'm going to go back into full screen again, and you should do the same, which is down at the bottom. If you're coming in late, this is a second phase example, what I call explore, where the students are asking questions and going a little further. And this one actually has 2 parts because I did them both at the same time. The first, they're both thinking about the same guiding question: why do people migrate? What forces drive human migration? In one, for Irish migration, the suggestion is the students watch introductory videos to help begin build their questions. And there's some tools that involve. These are really sort of intense videos that describe the scenes and really get them involved. It's based on a collection that's available on Learn. Then in the French migrations, they're exploring powerful images further that describe social economic realities. And they're using an organizer that I kind of borrowed. If Dan is here, Dan Hedges from Sorrowful Laurier School Board shared an organizer that I really liked, and I thought it would be perfect for this. And they're examining each quadrant of the photo, and then they're sharing their ideas with students in the environment. And then they're also watching videos similarly, but they're using this tool that Dan suggested. So again, this has a video. This video starts a little differently. 22nd in, I start talking about project-based learning and different ideas about phases and what to call it, and this is an acquisition process and that sort of thing. At the 50-second mark, I talk about another idea, which is the idea of essential questions. What are essential questions? They're linked to content goals, they're bridges, and that's the idea. And in this example, the essential question is, why do people migrate? And then there's a fairly long 3 minutes that I won't make you sit through, but it's important. In Quebec, we have a program that we follow, and the program has different parts. And you should use all those parts, not just one, not just the list. You should use the description, the timeline, the concepts that are in the overview document. And those different parts can help you figure out how to explore. They can give you what we used to call a designated focus, an angle. And it can help you guide students in their questioning. So then I get into the tool. Well, no, sorry, I get into the activity. The engage activity. At the 4-minute mark, I talk about the Irish one and talk about the Water of Life series. And at the 5-minute mark, I talk about this tool that's used in the French migration section. So now I'm going to go back to that type of template again. And I'm going to click one thing from it, which is the French migration section. So this is the new history site. This is one section of the new history site for students, where we're taking all our documents and all our collections that have been stashed away for teachers only and trying to put them on a site for students. This is what we've got so far in the works, and we're going to be building throughout the year and next year probably. So you've got an introduction, you've got some information on demographics, you've got one activity idea, sorry about the scrolling, and then activities to explore immigrant realities appears here, and here is the tool. So again, yes, I know, this is another example of an analyze an image type of activity, but it's a little bit more complex. And again, it asks students to do multiple images or have choices maybe. And I just wanted to show you the tool. In this case, they observe the image and they record their observations using a tool like this, which I thought was really, really nice for this kind of activity. The realities of migrants and factory workers, what can they get from this? What can they get from this? And then they have a space to write where they can say, this section of the image tells me this section of the image tells me this. And so that's the tool for exploring further. But again, videos are good too. As I said in the video is another way to start people exploring or a more in-depth film. And here's a routine from Dan again on 2 videos. Video 1 on the cotton mill girl, and where they write down what stands out in the video, what interests me in the video, what does it make me think about, what surprises me. And these are questions that lead to more questions, don't they? And this is what the exploration phase means. It's when the students are digging deeper and they're building where they're going, their own questions, what they're going to investigate further later on. So that's my second example. Oh, I got lots of tabs open. So again, you have seen this example. You're saying, I'm teaching online. I've already started my class. We're into it now, but I want them to start asking questions. I want them to start exploring a topic further. How would you do that? What tool would you use? What media would you show them? What exercise would it be? And anybody who's a teacher, or even if you aren't a teacher, but you've been in class, knows that there are certain things that starts getting students going. I'm going to give you a few seconds to jot those down. 1 or 2 or 3 ideas. So keep writing, I'll keep talking. Next section. We're not doing too bad. I could get 4 in, which is my goal. So you've already got a couple ideas of how to start a class, how to, sorry, where am I down here? how to start a class, how to explore further, get them developing questions. Now is the time they're beginning to research. They're beginning to maybe use documents, get organized documents, maybe even researching on the internet. They're beginning to find out answers to their questions. This is the historical method to gather and organize my information so that I can come up with an answer to my questions. So this is the example I chose. This one is not on the website. It's from secondary 3, which we haven't put up yet, but it's from an old document collection as well. And so the students are asked to, their goal is to figure out whether 1608 is a turning point or whether there's other turning points in the settlement of Canada. And there's sort of sub questions too, like how does geography affect where things were settled? And a big sub question, what happens when cultures collide, which is actually part of the next document collection as well. It bleeds over. So students are asked in this investigative process to establish facts related to the first settlements, Port Royal, Tadoussac, so on. And they're supposed to situate them in space and time. Now on the bottom left, you've seen intellectual operation as a Quebec term for different ways of using knowledge. And in this case, the main one to be evaluated, let's say, is whether they can situate them in space and time. They're going to gather these documents from a much larger document collection again, and they're going to characterize the period, which is a term I'll explain in a second, by ordering representative events. So they're going to isolate events chronologically into separate boxes on the timeline. After they've done that, they're going to use an application called Cartograph, which I mentioned before is a Learn Receive application for mapping. And they're going to map those events as well to show location. And they can even take the same documents and put them into that tool as well. So again, this one has a video. Again, it's a similar structure. I start off with a little bit about the program. In this case, I talk about what is characterize. What does that mean? And because we have 2 competencies in Quebec, to characterize a time period and interpret a social phenomenon. Yes, interpret a social phenomenon. And the characterized part is really about describing the component parts of it. And I always use this image in my workshops of this car, that how we would describe the components of a period. And these are the components of a car. It's got a little joke in it. And then also, what is a time period? In Quebec, it's between here and here. And our goal is to characterize that by talking about what happened, what it's like. It's the what, it's not the why so much yet. But there's always a bit of that in because who chose those turning points, right? And are there others? So the social phenomenon is covered. And I mentioned also that it's not just about these different social phenomena, but it's also about the concepts carrying over. And I mentioned another thing that actually came up in a conversation this morning, is that the program was written about Quebec and Canada history. It's written by a certain group. It's got certain star players, if you want, but it's written with the construction of all the players in mind. And by all the players, I mean everyone involved at every period in time. And so part of my goal is to sort of be thinking about that all the way through whatever time period we're working on. I mean, we talk a lot about Black presidents at a certain time period, but it's not like they disappeared. They were there through the whole period of time. So I mentioned a little bit about that as a way to sort of trace alternative, essential counter histories to the standard program. Then I get into the actual tool. At 355 mark, I talk about the document collection, and that the document collection is a Google Doc. And Google Doc's great. You can go and send your students right there, and they could copy the whole thing and they could mark it up. And often that's what they're intended to do, because inside that document collection is a tool they can write on, if you will, or type on. But at the 6-minute mark, I introduce this other tool, which they can use to organize those documents. So they can take those documents and place them along the timeline in order. They can move them around. And like we did earlier, they can work collaboratively. And I also left the top blank so that they can move things up if they want, or in this case, they can color them differently to represent different layers of time. So the bottom was sort of typical events, and the other was from one point of view, and the other was who was affected by those events. And you can see there are references to the indigenous peoples in this case. And then at the 650 mark, I talk about the notion of finding location and placing them on a map. I'm actually going to show you that last little part in the video. I'm not going to show you the actual timelining document. You can see it kind of looks like that. I'm actually going to try playing the video and skipping to a certain section of the video. Hold on. I'm going to just, I got a skip mark here. Yes. And this actually shows the tool. How are we doing? We're doing pretty good, actually. So yeah, I'll show you the tool too. I'll skip a little further. Okay.
As was meant.
Okay, you know what? I'm not sure if I shared my audio, so I'm just going to talk over it. And I'll skip a little through it. So there's the document collection. And here's the tool. So it looks like this. And the thing about this tool is it's really, really big, right? I mean, you have to zoom in close to read the letters, and that's the idea. And many students can work together, yes. I had forgotten to say that, so I had to pop it in afterwards. So, you know, it has a lot of flexibility. And when I was teaching online, I was always searching for really big tools where a lot of students could work together. I used a lot of Prezis. Prezis has an infinite zoom, and students can buzz around in there and organize documents and things like that. And this is pretty good for that. Students will get used to it, and they'll be able to zoom right in. And again, it mentions the idea of layering the timeline to deal with different issues or peoples. Now, this is a tour of Cartograph. I'm just going to full screen this. I can show you Cartograph, but if I show you, I get distracted because it's so much fun. Basically, it's a mapping tool. It uses Google Streets, Google Satellite, OpenStreetMaps, and students can use it to locate different things on the map. And the video is showing the process I went through when I was trying to locate Tadoussac, but not just Tadoussac, the settlement. I was actually looking for a building. I was looking for where this church was, because it's one of the oldest churches in North America. And it was really fun. And what's great about this is that when students do this, they, is the word appropriate it for them? It becomes theirs. Trying to think of a French word, but you know, their placement is unique to them. They might place it on the other side of the bay where the photograph was taken, for example. They have a reason for placing things, and so they personalize it. And so that's Cartograph. You can also, as you see, put information in the points, so they could actually put the documents in there to locate them. But you can also actually link directly to this location from another document. So for example, they could be in this document, and when you click on the image, it goes to not just their map in Cartograph, but that exact point in Cartograph. So they can locate these objects. So I'm ahead of time. That means I must have been talking really fast. I'm sorry about that. So, because I can do a fourth example. So this is an example of students investigating. They've decided their questions, they've decided their goal. They are working on building an answer, building a project maybe. How do you do that online? What's your idea for how the students are going to hopefully work together, but online or digitally, while they're investigating, while they're gathering information, while they're researching, while they're organizing their information for a purpose, right? That was my idea. I want you to write your idea. Students can examine, research, gather, and organize information by doing what? Or with what tool? Or how? 10 seconds of silence. keep writing. You've got an idea how it's going to be done. How is it going to be done? How are they going to investigate? And you are writing it down. How you may go back and you got a great idea for starting a class, or again, how to start the class, or how they're going to develop questions. Maybe it's a bit of the same, bit of both at the same time. That's okay. Okay, this is what I put in my creation section. This is using Cartograph. I'm gonna actually dip into Cartograph a bit. This is the video, as the videos I put in states, it's an older video. It's called Making a Simple Map. Is something that often happens at the beginning of a learning process, or near the beginning, where they're starting to ask questions and they're actually building a simple map based on the initial things they see. But it's also a creation phase, because then in this activity, they are researching and they're going to make something. They're going to create a new map. So again, there's a video. It talks about when in the learning process it happens. It talks about some skills. Start mapping with a scale, a title, a scale. Identify the obvious, how to do it, and categorizing territories you can already tell just by looking at the map. That's sort of at the beginning. But then it talks about more research. And the nice thing about Cartograph is that you can put in the description instructions. The teacher can build a map, put the instructions, including links and a process in the map, and students can then copy all that and they can build their own map based on these samples. Usually the strategy is to put a couple sample points or sample things so they see how it's working. And then there's a goal, students copy it and work from there and make their own or develop on what's already there. And in this case, they are creating a map, but they are also creating a project where they compare other cities. So they're creating the exercise, the project that they're submitting at the end is their map and its comparison with another map. In this case, I think it's New York City, I think. It's an example in another scenario. So I am actually going to jump back out to the document so that I can get to the materials and resources, which is the actual Cartograph. And I think I'm kind of ahead of time, so I can look at this a little closer. Yeah, so this is, I'll just go to the home first of all. This is Cartograph. On the right are public map scenarios, and there are versions in French too. Oh, I wanted to speak some French, but I forgot. Oui, je parle français aussi. Alors, s'il y a des questions en français, il n'y a pas de problème. Mais c'est ça. Il y a des versions en français. Souvent, c'est les versions de récit univers social qu'on a mis ici. And then we got our English side, which are different sample maps. There's a lot of sample maps inside Cartograph that nobody's shared back with us yet. I can tell by the names of things just in the list in the back end that there are some interesting projects that I'd like to find out what people are doing. But these are ones mostly that either I've come up with or Récit Universel Social or different consultants or teachers have shared back. And this one is called Cairo Metropolitan Territory. It gives a little summary. And then this is Cartograph. So this is a mapping scenario. It's got a description. In the description, it's got instructions. First, do the legends and stuff like that. This is exploratives, trace visible borders, categorize, and mark key locations. And then at some point, then you're going to compare your map. Now, there are different tools. There's a link to the tool. And at the bottom, there are the resources. And hopefully this works. Sometimes switching back and forth doesn't work. Yes, okay. So they can switch back and forth different technologies. If it ever bugs, you just go home and come back. Nothing can ever be lost because everything is individually. You can zoom down right into town, and you can map the area and create your map. So the student would come here, they would duplicate it, they would follow the instructions of the teacher, and they would create their own map. And in this case, it's called a simple map. I'm just going to zoom a little bit closer here. A simple map really is, or a schematic map sometimes, is really when you do this. After it's finished, you see the structure of the area without the background. So this is just the beginning of one, and this is a different map here. And you notice this little eye down here? You can put information in for students. So this helps them read a bit about Cairo to help them with their tasks. So the goal is to create a map. So that was my create example. I wanted the students to work through a process and to create a map. So your chance to write it down, because now we're going to go somewhere and you're going to share your ideas. So create. Students are going to be interpreting, they're going to be creating a project that they will later share. We haven't figured out how that's going to work yet. A great idea of an online project is, or something like that. What can students create using a digital environment? Now you can.
There was a question, Paul, if I could throw in just how does Cartograph differ from Google Maps or using Google Maps?
Excellent question. And I actually intended to pause at this point anyway to answer questions, because we're gonna go share in a second. So while people are writing down, it's perfect. Okay, Cartograph uses Google technology, but it's slapped on top of Google technology with a lot more flexibility. In other words, we can put in our points, we can put formatted text, links, videos inside them. And the original intention of Cartograph was actually to analyze images. And there is actually a tool where if you put an image inside the point, you can click and you can draw on the image. The actual original project was called Analyse Image. So Cartograph is more student friendly. It doesn't require a Google account. It's got no teacher backend, or it's done completely through the students have to make an account, or you make an account for them, and you manage it like you would a normal class by sending links, by doing discipline in class on your own, and there's no backend. It's really simple that way. And it's very powerful because like I said, you have a lot of flexibility with what goes in the points. You can use different icons. You can use different shapes, and we're improving it all the time. So it's really a student-friendly tool. It's not a place to put permanent things. Teachers are okay, but students, they do the project and they leave. And if the account hasn't been used for 2 years, we were going to delete the account. So it's really a student exercise project space that uses Google Tech, uses OpenStreetMaps as well. And there's a few other street maps we're going to be able to use in the next version. But really the tool is that it's simple and for students. So take your choice. They're both similar. And anything that we suggest on Cartograph works in Google Maps and vice versa. It's just that with Cartograph, you do not need an account. So this is what I want you to do. By now, you've got at least 4 ideas, right? And I want you to share them back. And I want you to go to this place and pick a slide to start and put your name on the slide so that nobody else goes into that slide. And I want you to write down your idea. So you got a spot for the activity description. Anything that's got a hyphen in front of it, that's meant to be deleted. You change that, right? And I want you to figure out whether it's going to happen in the middle, the beginning, at the end of the learning process, or in the inquiry process that students are engaged in. So I'm going to go there right now, and I'm going to see if anybody shows up. So you're going to pick a slide like this, and you are going to delete this description and write your idea, and click on one of these, and you can put like a thicker border on it like that, and maybe change the color so you can see the border like that. Oh, or that's fine too. Any way to delineate it. So I'm going to leave that up there, the first one, because it has the shortcut to where it is. And I'm going to give you a whole 5 minutes. And I am dead on time. A whole 5 minutes to share your ideas. One of them at least, but you can share as many as you want. Just pick a different slide for each idea. And I'm going to go and copy and paste some more slides down at the bottom, just in case we get. Oh, okay. So I'm going to check with Craig while you're doing that, and I'm going to see if there's any other questions. Okay. People are arriving. So I'm going to give you another 4 minutes anyway. So if you don't want to hear me, just mute me for 4 minutes. I'm just going to say that anybody that's arriving suddenly and didn't hear the explanation, the idea is here to share an activity that you would use either to engage students, to explore and question further, while they're investigating and research, while they're creating a project. Think of an activity online and tell me when during the learning process that activity happens. Pick a slide and write your idea down. Okay, apparently I'm talking. That's just me walking around. So I'm gonna let you continue writing your idea down. And this document I'm going to leave here with this address, but I'm going to lock it down and you will have to request access. And please write it down or take a screen capture or come back to this. And when you've got an idea or you've seen an idea that, that fits really well in a certain phase in the learning process that you can do online or digitally in a classroom, come back here and share that. And especially elementary ideas. I'm going to actually find my camera here, start up again, because I'm going to share a problem I have with you. First of all, and I'm going to show you another site. So while you're doing that, sharing your ideas, I'm going to try to talk about two things. One is my problem, and the other is how to share back and forth. I'll show you my problem. It's got to do with how to play a game online. I got a couple answers, but I haven't got the answer to how to do the game. This is a Societies and Territories elementary site. In Quebec history, elementary covers various societies, and yes, it doesn't cover a lot of other societies, but there are opportunities to add to this for sure. But this is based on the Quebec program in elementary, and it's also covered in the secondary level. So a lot of the secondary examples we use draw from some of the images from this site or the text from this site that are simple, because the secondary also covers origins to 1500 and different peoples in New France as well. And then the programs diverge after that time period. So in this section, I've got lots of teacher tools. Well, first of all, I'll show you one of the sections. Every section, it has different categories, different texts about different topics and images you can use. And it also has various activities for teachers. One is how to make a game and different games. And I'll show you really quickly one, which is called Explora, where the students take cards and look at the cards, and then they put them on this board, and they have to place them in time and also in space. How would you play that online? That I'm not sure about. Making the game is also part of that section. Making a game you could do online, that would be a creation. But how do you actually play it? I'm not sure. And I'll leave you with one other thing. I want to show you something about Cartograph, if I can actually log in for sharing. You saw the Google, there it is, good. You saw the Google slide. We're using a Google slide. We are sharing, we're collaborating, we're working together. I can see what you're doing, you can see what I'm doing. And that's also a way for the teacher to evaluate. They can look back, lock it down if they need to, and see where the students got, or they can comment on it. This is a project by a teacher named Julie Paré, who works at Learn now. And this was a French as a second language project. And these are maps. These are all these students' maps. And if I toggle everything off, they all disappear. And I can toggle that student's on, and that is that student's maps. And the way Cartograph works is all you do is you go to this tab and you put a code in here, which is the only security you have. It has to be a good code, it's a password. And if the other student puts the same code in, you see their map. You see them on the same space. So all you need to know is the code, so don't give away the code, don't make it not a good code. And you can see that this student here is working on a project. In this case, it was to make a pamphlet, tourism pamphlet. And this is the information that he used about the place. And these are the different places he found to go to this area. But you can see that this could work in social sciences, right? Each student is doing a project. And the example I have on the site is about metropolises, where each student is studying a metropolis, and they go to the metropolis and they get information about it. And then they share by using the same share code. So that's a sharing idea. I haven't got much more than that today. I am finished. I cannot find my ending slide. So I'm going to just shut off the screen share and say thank you very much. And I am done 1 minute early. But you're not, right? Because you're going to come back and you're going to share your ideas, and you're going to visit Learn Social Sciences. And thank you very much. Thanks, Craig. Any last questions? I think we're good. Have a good day, everybody, and have a good weekend.